Hi y'all, I'm Amber, welcome back to Cat Space, and today I'm going to share with you a book haul. I actually wasn't really planning to do a book haul. In the past few months, I've kind of been wavering on the idea of book hauls and the purpose of them. But Friday, I got something, and I got so excited, I had to share it with y'all. All these are all books I've gotten in the past 2 to 3 months, I believe. So, yeah. The first book is Bread and Wine by Ignacio Salon. This is translated from Italian by Eric Mosbacher. This first came out in 1936, and he uses the story of Pietro Spina to talk about Italy's fascist state and Mussolini's control over Italy at that time. So Pietro Spina has been exiled for 15 years. And he finally returns to Italy in order to gather up the peasants in order to create a revolution. I read a little bit of the introduction just to see, and they talk about the author, and what they say is that the story reflects his own story a lot. And so I'm guessing this is pretty much semi to almost biographical. I will say that the author's name is actually a pseudonym. In order to protect his family, he had to change his name. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I've already actually started it, and I'm enjoying it so far. The next book I picked up is Broken Monsters by Lauren Bukes. This is about Detective Gabriella Farasado, who finds half boy, half deer fused together somehow. And this is not the only strange body that they found recently, and the question is, how can the city hold on to a reality that is already tearing at its seams? If you're Farsado's daughter, you start having a dangerous flirtation online with a potential predator. If you're a freelance journalist named Jono, who's very desperate, you would try anything to get the story. Or if you're Thomas Keane, who's known on the streets as TK, you'll do anything to keep your family safe, who are all homeless at this time. This sounds very intriguing, strange I will say, but intriguing nonetheless. I actually was looking for The Shining Girls by Lauren Bukes when I picked this up, but because this sounded just as good as that one, I thought I might as well go ahead and get this, especially since this was on sale, and when will I ever get a chance to pick up something by her that is that cheap? Old Man's War by John Scalzi. This is the first book in the series, and I don't know what the series is called at this moment, but humanity has found a way to expand out into the stars. That's the good news. The bad news is that the planets are scarce. Alien races are willing to fight them for ownership of these planets. Earth has become a backwater where the bulk of our resources are in the hands of the colonial defense forces, and when you reach retirement age, which is around 75, I believe, that's when you can enlist in the army, because they believe that the lifetime of experience and skills taken up throughout that lifetime is worth more than youngsters. Basically, when you enlist, you're taken off Earth, you don't ever return, but after 2 years, if you survive, you're able to get your own homestead on any of their hard-won planets. And that is exactly what John Perry does when he turns 75. He enlists in the army, thinking that this is going to be a simple 2-year time of serving in the military, without realizing what he's really getting into. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I've heard a whole lot of good things about this, but it is sci-fi, and lately I've been struggling to find anything in the sci-fi world that I can get into, so I'm kind of going into this more cautiously than when I first picked this up. Next we have Into the Wild by John Krakauer. This is about a young man from a well-to-do family who gives all his savings to charity, gets rid of his car and most of his possessions in order to hitchhike through Alaska, I believe. And 4 months after he does that, his body is found. John Krakauer takes eyewitnesses, people who met him, who've seen him on his way, that kind of thing, and kind of tries to put it all together to try to figure, what happened with this young man. I will say that this sounds like a very thin idea, that there really isn't much to go on, considering that he tended to stay under the radar. Like, I don't think there were that many people who really knew him or would recognize who he was even after the fact. But I am interested to see how he handles it and if it works out. Then I picked up Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brien. This is the first book in the Aubrey/Matern series. This first book begins with Jack Aubrey, who's a young lieutenant in Nelson's Navy, who is promoted to command of HMS Sophie, an old slow brig, unlikely to make his fortune. But Aubrey is adventurous, brave, and so with the aid of his friend Stephen Matern, who's the ship's surgeon and secret intelligence agent, they go head to head with a mighty Spanish frigate who is faster and more advanced than their ship, of course. I watched the film, which, I had to watch over and over again to actually finally enjoy. It's a rare thing that happened. And I did not realize it was actually based off of a book, so when I saw this, I had to pick it up and see what the original story is and if the film did it justice. The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley. This is an Arthurian tale told through the eyes of two women, one being his half-sister and the other being a high priestess. And I'm very much excited for this because, well, it's an Arthurian tale and it's told through a woman's eye. So I'm very intrigued to see how that will change the perspective or how it changes how we see Arthur, if it does at all. And yes, so this is something I've been wanting for a while, and when I finally saw this, I had to pick it up. Next, I picked up The Clan of the Cave Bear by Jean M. Well, this is set at the dawn of mankind, and it's about Isla, who has survived a natural disaster where all her family and tribespeople have apparently died, and she's found by the people of the Cave Bear. They don't really trust her, but as time goes by and they get to know each other, they start to welcome her into the tribe, and eventually they come to worship her. In her blood, the future of humanity flows. I am very much intrigued by this. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I had just watched 2000 BC when I saw this, and I just had to pick it up because of that. I don't think the film was amazing, brilliant, mind-blowingly great, but it was good, and it piqued my interest in these kind of stories. So, like I said, when I saw this, I had to pick it up. We'll see how it turns out. Next, I picked up Cave Dweller by Dorothy Allison. I think it was last year or the year before that when I read Bastard Out of Carolina and absolutely fell in love with her writing. And that story was so moving and heartbreaking that I just wanted to pick up everything by her. But this was the first thing that I found that wasn't at full price. Here you go. This is the book that I found, and hopefully I enjoyed it as much as I did Bastard Out of Carolina. This one is about Delia Bird, who packs up her Datsun and her daughter Sissy and goes back to Cairo, Georgia, in the hopes to find her other two daughters that for some reason she was separated from. Sissy, who's 10 years old, believes that her mother is kidnapping her away from her father. So we'll see how this all plays out. Like I said, I love Bastard Out of Carolina, and I'm hoping that this will live up to my expectations. I also finally picked up Cold Mountain by Charles Frazier. This is about Inman, who has deserted from the Confederate Army in order to go back home to Cold Mountain, where Ada is, and Ada is struggling just to survive. She has no idea how to run a farm, but she has been left to do so when her father dies. And yes, I've watched the film, absolutely enjoyed that one. I tried this several years ago, wasn't really hitting off with it then, and I gave it away. Sadly, I should have just kept it. But I did borrow it from the library, was it last month or the month before that, and I was enjoying it, but I had to give it back to the library, and I didn't really feel like trying to borrow it again. So I bought it because I was enjoying it that much, and I hope that continues on when I pick it up again this time. Next, we have Schindlers List by Thomas Kimley. I believe most everybody should know what this is about, either from reading the book themselves or watching the film, which is very well known. I think even more well known than the book itself. If you do not know, this is about Oscar Schindler, who was a German war puppeteer and prison camp director, who ends up saving more Jews in the gas chamber than any other single person during World War II. So I'm fascinated by how he did that, because I imagine it had been very difficult to do that without causing suspicion. So we'll see how this works out. Next, we have Down by Chuck Palahniuk. I absolutely love to fight Cub, and I've been wanting to pick up something for quite some time by him. It just hasn't seemed to happen, but finally, I have another one of his works, and I absolutely love this cover. So this is about Madison, who's 13 years old, who's the daughter of a narcissistic film star and a billionaire. She's been abandoned at her Swiss boarding school for Christmas, where she dies from overdosing with marijuana, and she ends up waking in hell, literally. So she is sharing a cell with a motley crew of young sinners, where they all decide that they are going to confront the devil. I am very intrigued by this, and I'm looking forward to reading another Palahniuk. The Engagements by J. Courtney Sullivan. I was given to this by my boss, who had a bunch of books that she didn't want, and I just randomly picked them up, and this was one of them. I'm slightly interested in it. Like, I'm not gonna hold my breath in the hopes of that I'm gonna enjoy it, but the story sounds interesting. So it's about these two couples and a person who's single at the time, and it's about how all their lives are changed by this woman who's an advertiser copywriter during the 40s, whatever, who writes "A diamond is forever," and somehow that changes everything, which to me seems a little bit far-fetched, very far-fetched actually. So I don't know where this is going, and that is a lot of why I'm kind of like very cautious about this, but it seems to have something that will interest me. I also bought Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder. This is the first book in the Little House series. Everybody knows about the Little House series, the Little House on the Prairie, the TV show, so I don't feel like I really need to talk about it that much, but I've been wanting to read this for quite some time, and since I saw this and it was super cheap, I decided I might as well pick it up. The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper. I really do not know how to describe this book. It is set on the American frontier, and it brings to life the French Indian War through the eyes of a man who I think was adopted by Mohicans, and how they get caught in the middle of it all. I watched the film, absolutely enjoyed it a whole lot, and I've been wanting to read the book ever since I've rewatched it recently. So I'm hoping to enjoy this as much or even more than the film itself. Crossing my fingers that the film stayed true to this story. A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. This goes all the way to present time from Columbus days. I have been wanting to read this for quite some time. I had to read parts of it for my history course when I was in college, but I never picked the book, and I regretted that a whole lot. So I was very happy when I saw this. The place where I was at when I saw this, I never had it before, and so when I saw this, I just had to. When it says present, it means 2012, really, which is fine with me. I don't need our actual present day in written form. That would be just painful to have to read. But I'm very much interested in this, especially with up to maybe the World War II era. That's what I'm most interested in. So yes, it's about time that I had this. The Witches of Eastwick by John Updike. This is set in a small New England town in the late 60s where lived 3 witches. So I feel like this was made into a TV show or a movie or something. But anyway, I'm very much looking forward to reading this. I've been wanting to read a book by John Updike for quite some time, and when I saw this, I just had to pick it up. The Enchanted by Renee Denfield. I've already read this and left it. I will link down below my review for this, so you can go check that out and learn more about what this is about. Tender is the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I've been wanting to read something else by him ever since I read The Great Gatsby. I don't think that book is as great as it seems to be made out to be, but I did like his writing, the story was good, and I've been wanting, like I said, to read more of him. So I got this, and this is about Dick Diver, who's a young psychiatrist whose career is thwarted and his genius numbed through marriage to the exquisite and wealthy Nicole Warren. I'm very intrigued as how that could happen and what she has over him that would make him not be so focused on his career. I mean, there has to be a balance, right? So I'm very interested in this, and hopefully it's as good as I think it is. Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. The title, I believe, has to do with the Pilgrim's Progress in some way, and here is about this fair that is never ending, and I'm very intrigued by that. I'm looking forward to seeing if there's any parallels to the Pilgrim's Progress other than the fact of the title. I'm wanting to read this for quite some time, so I'm glad to finally have it. And now finally on to the thing that I mentioned at the beginning that I picked up this Friday that I'm so excited for. Like, I'm seriously excited. I'm not one of those people that will buy something just because of their cover. If I've already read something and I love it and I want to pick it up, then I might do that as long as it's not super expensive. But I'm not like crazy fanatic about having to have matching covers or being specific about the edition that I get. But I absolutely love this book series, and I just had to get this edition because it's just so freaking gorgeous. Because my birthday is coming up next week, I decided that I might as well get it for my birthday. And what I got, is the complete series of the Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. I absolutely am in love with this. Like, look at that. The spines show the picture of Hogwarts. That just is brilliant. I mean, that takes a lot of effort to do that, I have to imagine. And even the box itself is beautiful. I mean, like, look at that. Hogsmeade. This is just the most brilliant put together box set I've ever seen. So, I'm going to take these books out very carefully to show you them individually, because the covers are just as beautiful too. First is the Sorcerer's Stone. Just Chamber of Secrets. Prisoner of Azkaban. Goblet of Fire.
And what I absolutely appreciate about these editions is that the covers seem to be more accurate in how they depict what's going on in the books. So that is a bonus. I don't think that the other editions were bad in Harry Potter. I just don't think that they were completely accurate, and I like the illustrations so much better.
Order of the Phoenix. Half-Blood Prince. I mean, my goodness. This is so beautiful. Finally, the Deathly Hallows. So there you go. That was my birthday gift to myself. Getting this was like my favorite thing ever for this month. I mean, my goodness. I never expected actually to get this because, well, it was quite expensive to get, but it was so freaking worth it. Anyways, that was my book haul. Thank you all so much for watching, and keep smiling.